What's going on, everybody? It has been a super wild week for video games. I feel like these last couple weeks have been pretty crazy and there's been a lot to talk about. In this video specifically, I want to talk about the future landscape of, consoles moving forward, okay? So this week we had the reveal of the PS5 Pro and there's a lot to unpack there. We're definitely going to talk about that, for good and for worse. And then also we have some Nintendo Switch 2 leaks that dropped like last night. I don't know how credible any of this is, but there's still a lot here that is worth talking about. We're going to talk about Xbox as well. So we're going to go ahead and talk about, pretty much every big console and every big company moving forward, because we're getting to the halfway point in the 2020s. Things like the PS5, the Series S, Series X, whatever, they're like halfway through their lifespan. We're halfway through the decade and it's really, really interesting. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Real quick, I'll make this short. We have been getting a lot of support recently on videos. So if you guys could please just drop a like and a subscribe, it would help a lot to kind of build the snowball. I really appreciate all you guys who watch my videos, and we are kind of growing at a rapid rate. I'm still pretty small, but I hope to continue this moving forward. Yeah, so if you guys do enjoy the content, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Anyways, let's go ahead and continue. So let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room, the PS5 Pro, man. The PS5 Pro, it's an L. It's just a complete L. I'm not gonna lie. Now, I don't think the PS5 Pro is inherently a bad idea, okay? And honestly, when you look at the specs and the hardware of the PS5 Pro, it's actually pretty promising. It's basically just a PS5 on steroids, and it's probably going to make video games look really, really good in person. And I say in person because they did show off the PS5 Pro upgrades in a YouTube video, but I don't think that's going to show how good the upgrade is going to be when it's compressed. Is it enough to justify the price tag, though? No, not by any means. And there's a lot of Sony people out there who, are diehard fanboys of Sony, and they're justifying this because the PS3 was, $700, and that was pretty outrageous too. And that's why it kind of lost to the 360 in that era. That's why the 360 was better, because people were just like, I would rather spend like a couple $100 less to play basically, majority of the same games. Anyways, like, I don't think the price tag is worth it, in my opinion. And I'm not gonna lie, dude, like, the PS5 is completely fine. Like, yeah, you get all these fancy upgrades, but the PS5 looks great. I mean, you're watching Astrobot gameplay right now. This game runs like butter on a or not Gen 1, but like a base version PS5. You know what I mean? And I also don't think there would be as much controversy around the PS5 Pro's price if it was for two things. First of all, if they announced some new games, man. The PS5 catalog, it's getting better, especially with games like Astrobot and stuff coming out in later releases this year, with like Silent Hill 2 being a exclusive for a year, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, all of those. Like, there's a growing catalog of games, but there's still not enough. And I think if they release a PS5 Pro alongside some other games, cough cough, Bloodborne Remastered, or something like that, I think that a lot of people would be less upset. And also, a lot of people would be less upset with the price tag of the PS5 Pro if the base PS5 was getting knocked down in price, but it's not. Not that I know of, it's not. I don't think the PS5 base version is too expensive. I don't think it's too expensive. I think like $500 with the disc drive is whatever. That's not terrible. I don't like the idea of two different consoles, one being digital and one physical. That's another conversation though. But yeah, I think that if the PS5 Pro was coming out alongside of a bunch of other games, it would be received a lot better. And I also think it would be received a lot better if it was knocking down the PS5 in price, but it's just not. And also, like, if you look at like the whole disk drive situation, it's like an extra $80, and that's just completely ridiculous, because then you're pushing like an $800 console. And I mean, you could build like a really good gaming PC, like a pretty solid gaming PC for like $750. It would be on the lower end, but you could still build a pretty nice system for around that price. Or, like, if you're thinking about getting a PS5 Pro, why wouldn't you just wait a little bit longer till you have an extra $200 on top of that 700 and get, like a pretty decent PC? Like, I don't understand the pricing for it at all. It's just completely ridiculous. Like, at that point, just get a PC, because a PC is going to have around the same performance, probably better, and you're going to be able to do a lot more with it, You know, you can use it for school, work, whatever. So, you know, it just doesn't make sense for a consumer to want the PS5 Pro, like, at all. It just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, overall, this thing is not going to sell well. The PS5 Pro is going to flop in sales if unless they make like a big change. And another thing too is like the economy is so rough right now, man. Like, how are we supposed to afford that and justify that? Like, no, like it's not going to do well unless they make some major changes here. Now let's go ahead and move on to the Nintendo Switch 2 leaks. Now I'm not going to show any of these images on screen, but we are for sure going to talk about them. If you guys want to find the images and all the information on the Nintendo Switch 2 leaks, just literally look it up online. There's tons of articles everywhere. It's on Reddit, like everywhere. You can see all the specs, everything like that. It looks pretty crazy. And I am happy that Nintendo is doing a Nintendo Switch 2 because I love the Switch a lot. And Nintendo, sometimes they tend to do some wacky stuff. Like they'll try out a weird console and just kind of throw a curveball at consumers just to try new things just for the sake of it. But I like that they're sticking to the Nintendo Switch here and they're just going to upgrade it because I do love the Switch. Like the Switch is so convenient, it's so nice. And these leaks do seem really believable. Once again, they are leaks. Essentially what got leaked was basically just like a picture of a Nintendo, quote unquote, Nintendo Switch 2, and it was just like a slimmer version. You know, it looked a lot fancier, and the specs are upgraded to something like a PS4, just to give you an idea of performance. I think one of the most exciting things for me is, yeah, it's still like the Nintendo Switch 2, if that's true, will kind of be behind in technology. But if you look at the Nintendo games that have come out in the last couple years, like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, for example, that game is unbelievable just because it's like, I don't know how that runs on a Nintendo Switch. Like, it's massive. It's a massive game. Breath of the Wild, too. So with the Switch with upgraded hardware, like Nintendo's gonna cook. Like they're gonna drop some really good games, and I think that's the main selling point for Nintendo. It's not really the hardware, and it will never be the hardware. It's just their games, and you know they're just gonna have a bigger scale to do things now. If the Nintendo Switch leaks are true, we could see definitely probably another crazy Zelda game. Metroid Prime 4 might be a Nintendo Switch 2 title. I don't know if that's still like a rumor. Like I don't know if that was debunked, but I remember when that got released or announced, a lot of people were saying that this could possibly be a Switch 2 launch title. I don't know if that's debunked or anything, but that game looks like it could be great on a Switch 2. You know, maybe we get a Mario Odyssey sequel. There's a lot here. The biggest selling point is the game, so it's really just like more Switch, more Nintendo. I'm here for it and I'm down. So yeah, Nintendo's going to stay in their own lane. They're going to do their own thing. They're going to be Nintendo. We know this. Now let's go ahead and talk about Xbox, because Xbox is kind of in an interesting place that I wanted to talk about. So, you know, PlayStation has come out and, you know, they're dropping the PS5 Pro. Although it's controversial, they're pushing out something new, and they have said they're working on the PS6. That's controversial too, but they're working on something new. Nintendo is working on something new. Xbox isn't necessarily working on anything new, and it's kind of up in the air, right? Now, I do want to say this: the Xbox showcase we had in like over the summer was great. You know, we have a new Gears of War to look forward to. We have a new Fable. Like we have so many games that are under Xbox to look forward to. It's really just like what is Xbox going to do with their hardware, and specifically the Series S, because the Series S is the weakest link of this next generation. It just is. The Series S is really affordable and it's nice, and I actually do enjoy the Series S. I had one for a little bit. It was kind of nice, but it holds a lot of next-gen games back just because it's trying to be that affordable option, and with that comes lower performance, and a lot of developers have to compensate for that, and it really bottlenecks a lot of studios. Microsoft is really interesting. It really seems like they're focusing on video games, which isn't a bad thing. I want to preface that it's not a bad thing that they're focusing on video games rather than pushing out new hardware, because that's an issue that Sony has with consumers right now. Is a lot of people are just now getting their hands on PS5s because they were impossible to find when they first came out, and they're already talking about making the PS6 and everything like that, and they're releasing the PS5 Pro. Some people are irritated with that, and it feels forced. I get it. But the Xbox is at risk of being behind from a business standpoint just because their exclusives are kind of being given to competitors. I mean, Hi-Fi Rush was a big success for them, and it's on PlayStation now. Um, and there's not a lot of like powerhouse titles that make a consumer go, "Oh, I need to buy an Xbox for that." Maybe that will change for all the new games coming out that were shown in the showcase this summer. Hopefully it does. Like the new Gears of War looks really good and it sounds awesome. I definitely want to get my hands on that. But another issue is like all of the Xbox games are available on PC. And it's like, okay, well, I don't want to buy a Series X if I can just get a PC for a little bit more and still play those games. And that's what's interesting is I wonder if in the next couple of years here we're just going to see Xbox kind of just focus on developing games. Maybe Microsoft works on just developing games. That would be interesting, but I do like the Xbox, and I don't think they want to see it go either. It's just the Xbox is in a really tough spot, because we're getting to a point now where next gen consoles are getting just as expensive as PCs, and if Xbox exclusives are going to be on PC, why would you buy an Xbox? In that case, Microsoft shoes, like if everyone's buying like a PC, why would we make the Xbox? Moving forward, it's not too crazy to say that there could be no more Xbox, and that's sad to say because I love Xbox, and Sony is doing the same thing. But the difference with Sony is they wait a couple of years for their games, their big blockbuster games, to go to PC. For example, like God of War Ragnarok just finally went to PC. Ghost of Tsushima literally just went to PC not too long ago. Like these are like 3 or 4 year old games at this point. You know what I mean? And this isn't a console wars video, okay? This is not a console wars video by any means. This is coming from a guy who has grown up on both PlayStation and Xbox and loves them equally, okay? I love both of these consoles the same. I played them so much as a kid. I love Xbox. I love Xbox titles. It's odd because, the showcase we saw this summer, what that show from Xbox, that showcase tells me that they're like, okay, people are criticizing Sony for not making enough games. We're going to drop a bunch of fire games. And they're doing that. There's a ton of good stuff coming out. And then you see that showcase, but then it comes out later that they're dropping the studio that made Hi-Fi Rush, a critically acclaimed game. That's what I mean when I say Xbox and Microsoft is in a weird place. You know what I mean? It's like on one hand they're like, yeah, we're gonna make better games because Sony's not making good games right now, and they're just focusing on forcing out hardware, and then they cut one of their best studios, in my opinion. Tango Gameworks was extremely talented. Right? That's what I mean when I say they're in a weird place. I don't think Xbox will go under, okay? I don't think we're going to see the Xbox disappear. It is so iconic at this point, and I think Microsoft will pull some sort of move to keep it around. I don't know what that move is going to be, though. Like, it's completely up in the air, and it's in a weird spot, and that's basically, my entire point with that. This isn't to say that PlayStation is better or Xbox is better. Like, I'm being critical of both right now. Sony is focusing way too much on forcing out garbage hardware that no one really needs, and they need to focus on making better games for the PS5 because there's not enough. And Xbox, who knows what they're doing? They're kind of having an identity crisis. But yeah, Nintendo is going to do their thing. We already talked about that. But yeah, that's going to be the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. And if you guys did enjoy, like I said, make sure to drop a like and a subscribe. What do you guys think about all this? I think the gaming industry is in a very interesting spot. We have a ton of games coming out, a ton of news, a ton of leaks. It's really cool. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.